Alrighty. Hello, everyone. How's it going? Let's get started. Today, we are going to be talking about New Age spirituality. I am starting a new series, deconstructing a lot of different beliefs, a lot of New Age beliefs specifically. And obviously, I've done a lot of this work on my own um, over the past several months. And I figure it would be really useful for other people to kind of come with me on the journey of like learning what it looks like to deconstruct beliefs. And I know for a fact that there is a ton of content about people making like deconstructing Christianity, but not things like New Age spirituality. And I think it's important to learn how to deconstruct kind of this ambiguous type of spirituality here. And I have some notes that I'm going to be reading from, and I'm also going to be sharing an article with you today that I found that I feel like really, I don't know, really captures a lot of the thoughts and feelings that I had while I was kind of in that zone spiritually. And it just there's a lot of places for me to interject some thoughts about New Age spirituality as a whole. And so, yeah, I thought that this would be pretty useful for everyone. And I might have to dip out in a little bit to grab some water because I forgot it, which is crappy. But we'll see how long it can last. I might not need to go, but we'll see. Um, all right, so let's begin. So on my religious journey, as I was learning how to deconstruct a lot of my more rigid dogmatic spiritual beliefs, I wanted to honor, the feelings inside of me that recognized that spirituality was an important part of my life. I didn't want to let go of that. And so I figured that I would continue that path. I started labeling myself as, spiritual but not religious, this kind of really, like I said, very ambiguous form of spirituality. Um, I also, during that time, ended up finding some new age practices that I thought were pretty interesting. I think that there are lots of practices in new age spirituality that can be pretty helpful and useful. Um, but yeah, I think I landed on some of the ones that are a little bit less helpful. And I think that my religious, I don't know, upbringing set me up to kind of, I don't know, take this stuff a little bit too seriously, which is kind of what happened for me. And hey, what's going on? It's great to see you here. Um, and yeah, so we're going to be talking a lot of New Age deconstruction. So if you have questions or anything, please feel free to interject. Um, yeah. So I think that one of the things that I think is important is to understand the things in New Age spirituality that are useful and the things in New Age spirituality that are damaging. When we learn how to kind of weed out the differences between the two, I think we can land in a pretty good spot. And I think the same goes for Christianity. The same goes for, I think, any religious system that you're trying to move away from or that you're trying to like deconstruct. And if you're here, like, and you watch this video, like, it doesn't mean that you have to let go of your spirituality or your spiritual practices, or you have to land in the same space that I did. I just want you to be able to understand where your beliefs come from and so that you can make an educated decision about your beliefs and that you're not just like believing something. Honestly, so you're not just believing things just because you think that they sound nice or you think that they kind of are okay or good. But maybe that you actually believe them or you want to believe them or you feel like a strong connection to them. Or if you're more like on the skeptical side, you want to choose to believe things that have evidence or that are kind of like repeatable things that we can actually use to develop like helpful models and systems for our lives and things like that. All right. So the other thing that I wanted to mention is I noticed so many people, labeling themselves as spiritual but not religious. And some of them I think are very serious in that they have a general sense of kind of knowing that the world or the universe is kind of bigger than them and they don't really do much of anything about it, but they'll say, yeah, I'm kind of spiritual in that way. Maybe they'll meditate every now and again. But then you have the people who are spiritual but not religious, but very much act like very religious people. They might be very militant about their meditation practice. They might do a lot of ritual in their life. They might have beliefs that are really supernatural, like about maybe the way that the earth was formed. Um, yeah, a lot of kind of the idea of like mythology being reality um, comes to mind for me at least. So, and the other thing about New Age spirituality is that in a lot of ways, it's just a bunch of old religions that they kind of mashed up together into one that was really, what's that called, digestible for, like, I guess more modern folks. I don't remember what year it was, very like when it was popularized. I've done research on it, but I don't have the date like in my head exactly. But yeah, these ideas aren't super and super old or anything. They're kind of a conglomeration of a lot of other beliefs. And one of the bigger problems that I have with New Age spirituality is a lot of sketchy people hang out in New Age spiritual circles. I am just going to be honest about it. And hey, genius, it's great to see you here as well. But yeah, there's a lot of other people who are a little bit sketchy, a little bit, I call them grifters. They're if you were here when I talked about Franz Mesmer, that guy who kind of convinced everyone like he could heal your body with magnets, and then they kind of found out that he was like a little bit full of shit later. That's what I mean is those kinds of people who kind of prey on your misunderstanding of certain experiences that you've had or that they've even had, and before you know it, you're believing something that you never even thought that you would believe. So I really do think that like my other issue here is that for the folks who do kind of deconstruct their faith and end up going um towards the like atheism side, maybe they're skeptics, maybe they're anti-theists, and they don't really see any value in engaging in spiritual practice. That also is kind of problematic for me. I personally think that spiritual practice is should be fundamental in human beings' lives. I don't. I also don't think that it has to like look like spiritual stuff. I think that it's just in the way that you like connect to yourself and that you connect to the world around you. I think it's also the way that you make meaning about the world, the way that you connect to your own inner self, like your deep inner self, like that, I think is spirituality. And so, with that more broad term, there's a million different ways for every human being that exists. There's a different way that that can manifest, and so I think that that's valuable, right? So basically, like I said before, I want to help bring kind of some of the nuance into this whole thing, and I want people on maybe the super religious side to have some nuance, and then also people on the really atheistic side to also find some nuance. I like things in the middle. I think that's where I've kind of landed. Um, maybe that's not super true. I'm probably more on the skeptical side than anything. Um, but yeah, okay. So, like I said, I'm gonna share with you a an article that I found. Y'all, uh, I'm doing a lot of research for this series that I'm working on with the New Age, and I'm currently like working on the video for energy healing on the side right now, and that's going pretty well. I was trying to find anyway. I was trying to find like people who were like former energy healers, but it's just like really difficult to find these kinds of people. And if I do find them, they are Christians. They're like, I used to do energy healing, but I realized that it was demonic and that the devil was working through me or something. And I'm like, that's not what I was looking for. I'm looking for maybe someone who has landed in a more skeptical place, and it's been difficult to find. I've asked around even on like Reddit and stuff, and yeah, but what I basically what I was getting at was I found the magazine called The Skeptical Inquirer, and there's a lot of articles there about the New Age that I thought were super interesting, and I'm going to share one of them with you. It's kind of has to do. It's this whole idea of New Age spirituality and seeking. Like it's a religious system that constantly keeps you seeking and looking for other things. So I'm going to pop this up here, and you can begin to take a look at it. I mentioned earlier that I don't have water, and so I'm going to go grab that really quick before I start reading this. So take a glance at the first little chunk of it as I go and run out real quick and grab some water. Okay. Oh, crap. Hey, everyone. Okay. Hold on a second. Oh, thanks for your patience, folks. Oh, okay. This is what happens when you're a little bit unprepared before you get started. I don't know. Might be seeing my. Okay. Ready? Here we are. Goodness gracious. Okay. Hold on one second. I just need to put it up a little bit bigger so that I can make sure I'm a little bit crooked. All right. So, okay. All right. Now, let's get started. Okay. And Genius, I see that you do energy healing. I think I'm looking for someone who no longer does energy healing, someone who used to do it and has stopped. Yeah. And yeah. So that's what I'm looking for specifically. Because there's a ton, I can find a bazillion people who actually practice energy healing, and even more like maybe secular forms of energy healing. But maybe I'll talk about that next episode or whatever. Okay, so let's get started here. Basically, we're starting with this idea, or the title is New Age Spiritualism. I still haven't found what I'm looking for. And the beginning of this sentence got me, or the beginning of this article got me. A friend who owns a bookstore once told me customers drawn to the New Age section seem to buy every book but never find what it is they're looking for. This New Age spirituality is a form of spirituality that really does keep you searching. There isn't another one of the kind of complications with this practice is it's not very well organized. Unlike a lot of other spiritual or religious systems, yeah, New Age spirituality just doesn't have as much structure as some other systems do. So I think that's another reason why people struggle to find what they're looking for because it's hard. Yeah, it's hard to find organized beliefs. And okay, New Age spiritualism has its origins in the 19th century. In the 19th century spiritualism movement that introduced the world to mediums, channeling, Ouija boards, and seances, and paranormal fraud. Today, spirituality encompasses a diverse range of beliefs and practices. So, like I said, it's not super old. It was just invented, or kind of its origin was in the 19th century. And this stuff that you see here, mediums, not really channeling as much, but mediums and Ouija boards and seances, I would say are pretty mainstream now. Like we have that Medium TV show that was not just, but there's, damn it, what's it called? The Long Island Medium? Yeah. Yeah, here we go. I feel like lacking structure is what keeps New Age spirituality from being a religion. I would agree in a lot of ways. It has a lot of religious overtones, and what's even funnier is I think that some of these ideas are cultish, but there's not a lot of structure. It's not very well organized. That's why the cults they're more narrow. They're underneath one follower. For example, like crap. Guys, I'm a wreck today. Okay, so for example, these are YouTube channels that are pretty cultish, in my opinion. Like actualized. Let me make myself a little bit bigger for a second. Actualized actualized.org is one, and spirit science is also one. You like, for example, you could watch those people's videos and be fine. Like you could just watch the video, be like, oh, that's interesting, and then move away. But if you were to like start watching a bunch of the videos and then you find the person who makes the videos and then you go to their website, then you start doing their meditations, then you start purchasing their courses, and then you start, having one-on-one meetings with them, and then after a while you have kind of like overtaken your entire mindset to follow this one person's mindset. This stuff gets dangerous very, very quickly. Um, and I think that's the other thing is with other beliefs in like Christianity, even you can start to, if you have like one person who's like, no, God spoke to me individually and told me this secret thing, you'll be like, no, because the Bible says this and it doesn't go with the Bible, so you might be wrong. There's a little bit more structure there. But with New Age spirituality, it's very much very subjective. You can go on a meditative journey and meet with a goddess, and they can tell you that you are literally the chosen one, and everyone in your group has to listen to you now. And it's hard to say like, yeah, we don't care about that was just your fun meditative experience. We're not going to listen to you. Like a lot of times people like they feel like they have to believe people's subjective experience and kind of like make it their own, which is a problem. And I loved spirit science so much. Oh my God. I can't tell you how many hours of their content that I watched. And yeah, I I found myself kind of really getting a little bit lost in a lot of the alternate history alien stuff, guys. It's super attractive and super fun and interesting for sure. It's just like not super reality. Like we know for a fact that UFOs exist, right? We know UFOs exist. Do we know for a fact that aliens are walking around on the planet? That that we can be a little bit more skeptical about, right? Okay. Anyway, or if you're spirit science, you're believing that not only did the aliens come here, but they're our parents pretty much. But I hope you understand. If you watch spirit science as much as I did, you'll know what I'm talking about. Okay. All right. So spiritualism in and of itself may not be a religion, right? But it can include religion. Spiritualist belief often integrate facets of uh, philosophy, culture, jargon, and rituals from historical religions, blended with pseudoscience, pseudoscience, and the paranormal, just like voodoo. Spiritualism draws mainly from Christianity, Judaism, Buddhism, and Hinduism, but also indigenous and other faiths. Very widespread beliefs. So many things are captured in here. Yep. Anunnaki, you know what I'm talking about, River. Yep, there we go. Okay, so spiritualists can be polytheistic or monotheistic, and the theistic higher being could be a god, goddess, creator, supreme being, or omnipotent presence. However, spiritualism is not invariably theists. For those who perceive themselves as non-theistic but still spiritual, spiritualist beliefs are compatible with atheism. For those believers, non-theistic higher power could be the cosmos, chi, prana, love, light, or life force. So this is another thing that is pretty interesting to me as well. You don't have to be religious or believe in a higher power necessarily to kind of get sucked in to the new age. I think you might be a little bit, there's maybe more of a chance that you will end up being a little bit more grounded. But it also doesn't matter because I think that you can start to kind of move into like the Big Bang was initiated by the higher mind that is the all kind of, we're talking more about like hermetics beliefs right now. So like the all powerful mind, like we are all living inside of the mind of the all, therefore our subjective experience is all an illusion and my entire reality is an illusion. Like you start to get into damn it, I forget the name, solipsism. Yeah, you start to get into like solipsistic territory where you can still like not believe that there's a God or necessarily, but you like believe that we're living in a simulation or something like that. Which is it's fine. It's fine to entertain that as a possibility. But for me, I think it starts to become problematic when you start setting your life up according to these systems. Um, and start like, yeah, because yeah, that's kind of like setting up your life based on flat earth theory. Like you can do it if you want. Like it's just you're probably like you're not gonna you're building your life on like a false like concept entirely. So sure, you as an American you have the right, but do you want to do that? All right. I read the absolutely. I read the couple. I can't tell you how many times. Maybe like 3 or 4 times. I've read it through it or listened through it. I love it. It's such. Oh, guys, I love this stuff so much. I love mysticism. It's so interesting to me, and that's one of the reasons why I fell so hard for it was because I just like such cool ideas. And I think when you leave them at ideas and concepts, and you kind of like I said, you can take out the stuff that's good and useful, and like leave some of the other stuff that maybe you're not so sure about. That is you're able to think stay a little bit more on solid ground. But yeah, maybe I'll talk about the Kabbalion because it's great. I love it. Anyway, in another video. All right, so spiritualism is often conceptualized. Wait, let me make this bigger again. Spiritualism is often conceptualized as religion, much as atheism is, because the structure of religion is our comparative cognitive model. And I think that's a great way to put it. It's the way that we frame the entire world. Everything that we think is viewed through this lens. Okay, so however, there's no clear-cut continuum of belief to non-belief. There are parallels because spiritualism is a belief system, but it is eclectic, unstructured, dynamic, and idiosyncratic. People who practice some form of spiritualism might describe themselves as spiritual persons, but they wouldn't necessarily employ spiritualist as a label or self-identification, or spiritualism as a designation for their beliefs. The one thing that I want to mention here very briefly is that you can get sucked into these beliefs without really knowing that you are getting sucked into these beliefs. For example, um, hold on one second. My brain had a thought and it ran away. Um, for example, I like really got into like, um, damn it. I got into a lot of new age ideas, but I didn't think that I was getting into a lot of new age ideas. I was like, these are like really ancient practices and things like that. And I was like, I did read a lot of more ancient texts and I tried to stay away from the new age stuff, but I ended up getting sucked in kind of in a roundabout way. And I wanted to mention this comment from before, I missed it. From Reiki, you're correct. Reiki is older than I believe it's older than New Age spirituality. Damn it, what's his name? Missouri, I think. Usui was the guy who invented it. Yeah, and you're correct. Reiki is not demonic. Right? Yeah, Christians will say that Reiki is demonic, and energy healing is demonic. I don't believe in demons like that. So that's a whole other conversation, y'all. There's so much nuance to all of my beliefs. It's so complicated. But I'm trying to stay a little bit focused on this one topic right now. But when I start talking about the new age, I just get really excited because there's so much to talk about and it's so vast and I love it. So excited. Okay. Can you tell that spirituality is my special interest or not? All right. Okay. So without denominations or sects, spiritualism is composed of loose communities that often evade classification. Alternatively, there can be in-group categorization, such as a theory of homeopathy or the various schools of yoga. This broadness and factionalism gives rise to the continual emergence of new beliefs like psychic medium Brown's religion. Wow, psychic medium Sylvia Brown's religion, the Society of Novus Spiritus. I don't know why I can't read today, but whatever. Um, this is also what I mentioned earlier. So Sylvia Brown, she was a very popular psychic medium. Oh, I can't wait to talk about mediums, y'all. I'm excited about that. But so with New Age spirituality being so loosey goosey, people end up inventing their own religious systems. They're like, I have received some type of special message. I want everyone else to receive this message. And oftentimes it's for good reason. People are like, I have been very well helped by this idea. I'm being very supported by this idea. And so they want to share with other people. So then I understand, and that makes a little bit more sense why people would want to share their ideas with others because this has helped them. But sometimes it can kind of go south and then turn into other little. I don't think it's a problem to invent a religion. I just think that people should invent their own personal religions and then just do that in and of themselves. All right. So many proponents value spiritual beliefs for this very lack of labeling and rigid structure, just like me, right? It is religion without a rule book. I personally loved that idea. Okay. There is no unified theology, no universally defining characteristics, nor collective history. There is no doctrine. The Holy Book of Spiritualism is whatever self help book is currently on the New York Times bestseller list. The priests and popes of spiritualisms are authors and celebrities, including fire walking motivator mentor Tony Robbins. See, um, it really sneaks in. It sneaks in to these non-specifically spiritual spaces. A lot of the MLM spaces, girl boss spaces, get overrun by new age spiritual concepts and ideas. Maybe they don't categorize themselves as new age or whatever, but the ideas are there. You have to learn how to see them and recognize them within people's belief systems. I agree with you. I think a lot of people do make it very easy to project. Like spirituality makes it super easy to project stuff onto other people in more ways than one, like several layers. There's some other people, John Edward, Wayne Dyer, Phil McGraw, and these are the prophets with PhDs. So a lot of people who are really smart, and a lot of them are scientists and neuroscientists and doctors and all this stuff. But sometimes they end up going spiritual, and then they kind of lose it a little bit. And I'll say this: um, people sometimes can think that they're doing science, but they're not doing science. For example, creation science, like those who try to do research to prove the fact that the world was created by someone, or at least proving intelligent design of some kind. It's not real science. So, but that's it. Like I said, this is another. Might have to have another conversation. There's so much to say. Okay. The intersection of religion and spiritualism is often mysticism. Customs of the Pentecostal and charismatic churches, such as speaking in tongues, e.g., light language. Anyone know what light language is? Speaking in tongues, they're the same exact thing. Divination and healing through the Holy Spirit, Reiki healing, quantum touch, EFT tapping, kind of. Not all tapping, some tapping involves a lot of this other energy stuff in it. Pranic healing. I'm trying to think of more. There's just more intuitive energy healing. Anything involving like muscle testing and there's a lot of like things that are just like talking and you're asking a lot of questions and you're asking the energy of the universe to like heal you. It's very much the same thing, different names for it. But there is no single spiritual house of worship. The temporary church is just the yoga class or that Reiki workshop. Although there's no formal liturgical service, spiritualism is often ritualistic. Advocates of spiritualism enact their beliefs and petition the powers not only with prayer, but with other forms of intercession, including meditation, mantras, Pilates, and positive affirmations. Does that say Pilates or something else? I think it says Pilates. highlights. I think that's what this says. I don't know if I'm reading it wrong. I don't know if they mean, yeah, there's a lot of different ways to kind of like get that connection to that higher, the higher power, higher system or whatever. Um, so when I see people doing a yoga course or like a Kundalini class or something to the point where they're like rolling around on the ground or laughing hysterically or like having this incredible release, and then they have, after that they're like, wow, this incredible mystical magical experience. I've never had anything like it before. It's this special unique thing. Literally do not know what a holy roller is. Like people who like burst out laughing in the spirit and they can't stop for like hours upon hours. People who like the holy rolling, they just kind of collapse and are in these ecstatic states at these churches. It's very, very common. These are human experiences, not religious, only religious experiences, right? Religions use ritual, even like it's very hypnotic, these patterns, the types of music, even like sitting down and standing up and sitting down and standing up in different services for different religions and stuff like that. Bowing in Islam, I think, or the Muslim people are in the Islamic faith, when they do repetitive movements and bowing and stuff like that. All of this is very ritualized stuff, and our biology is wired to react to that. It's not that the universe is required to enter us at that time. It's more that we are just, our human brains allow for this. And some people do this without knowing. A person wants to start a church and they just do everything that, no more churches do. They're not having any ill intent. But someone can do this and they know what they're doing and they set up a church and they know that they're lying to people. So that's one of the reasons why I have some issues, and I think people should be aware and learn how to think more critically. All right. So instead of entrance to heaven, spiritualist beliefs have more esoteric goals of attaining enlightenment, consciousness, awareness, oneness, and mindfulness. Depending on cultural preference, its goal is an individualist spiritual quest to find your true self, or is collectivist. You become of the greater whole or overmind. That's pretty well said. I will also add, in more modern times, more modern spiritual new age stuff, you are also including the the people who are believing that the more we raise the collective consciousness and move ourselves into the 5D, the fifth dimension or whatever, we're making ourselves a welcome environment for the aliens to come reveal themselves in kind of the great disclosure, and then help us to become a utopia society. So there's that as well, which I think that mirrors a little bit of kind of like the whole Jesus coming from the clouds thing, which I think is super interesting. All right, let's get back into it. So spiritualism offers not only salvation for the soul, but also chicken soup for the soul. It's concerned with mind, body, and spirit, and promises a practical function. It is a religion of self-help that preaches to its parishioners about alternative medicine, aging, activism, diet, environmentalism, relationships, art, music, finance, career, peace, politics, psychology, science, sexuality, the quality of life, and the afterlife. Y'all, you get everything that you need oftentimes in the New Age. Like I said, there's a lot of ways that people take these beliefs and kind of spread them onto a bunch of other things. Yeah, like the way that you connect to the environment, your why you're doing things with the environment, particularly. Things like alternative medicine. There's a lot of health related scams, honestly, that are going on right now. In the finance realm, a lot of kind of like the spiritual coaches thing comes to mind for me. Even with politics, We unfortunately are seeing a lot of the new age to QAnon or new age to alt-right pipeline. It's very, very common. Even in psychology, the way that you kind of deal with and handle your emotions, science, what you believe or what you choose to believe about what is real about science, even sexuality, like all of these things in the afterlife. It's interesting because it's like we talk about how this isn't a particular religion, but it takes care of everything, just like a religion. And I think this one did call it a religion earlier, um, but it's hard to label this one particularly. All right, so God tells us to do unto others as we would have them do unto us, but He can't help you lose weight. Spiritualism is more holistic than holy and claims to treat a bizarre range of life issues. It teaches us how to develop confidence, read body language, interpret our dreams, boost brain power, develop our ESP or extrasensory perception, overcome stress, navigate gender differences, enjoy better sex, cure impotence, look 10 years younger, win friends, and influence people. Yeah, like for example, a lot of the people who are doing, for example, the guy who is currently teaching quantum touch, which is a healing mechanism or practice. Um, I remember when I first came across his content, he was saying like he's trying to figure out how to overcome aging and like reverse aging, so that he, I guess, would always be young or whatever. And it was funny because I saw a video of his, like, because when I was looking up this stuff again, I went on to another video of his because I hadn't looked at it for a number of years, and he's aged. He's aged like everyone else because you can't overcome things like aging, guys. It's literally biology. So whatever. God helps those who help themselves, but religion is often about fate and acceptance of one's lot. Spiritualism doesn't wait for God to reveal his plan. A psychic can do that. Nostradamus and the Bible code provide us with prophecies that are interpreted subjectively. Intuitives, sensitives, astrologers supposedly offer us glimpses into the future using cold reading. Why wait for God to remember you? Why wait for God to remember you when your life will improve in the time it takes to read? Enjoy your life and be happy in 30 seconds. I feel like that's just hilarious. Um, I think let me read this paragraph as well. Spiritualism is instant karma. New Age books are replete with spiritual quick fixes to transform your life. For a while, religion seems to be about the power wielded over us, but spiritualism promises to empower, affording us control over our lives. Advocates promise that reading their books and attending their lectures will be a life-changing experience for a price. I think this article is just really well written. Also, I wish that I could read it better. But yeah, so that's one of the things that attracted me to New Age spiritualism is the fact that I felt like I had control. I felt like I didn't have to wait for God to do things in my life. Like I could make things happen on my own. That's why I think that me being so involved in the New Age was a required step on my kind of personal development journey. I needed to know that I had power in my life. I needed to believe that I did have the strength to transform my life. And I actually did. I really did transform my life while I was in that spiritual zone or whatever. And those are real changes that I'm still living and reaping the benefits from. But yeah, it took a little bit of me being disconnected from reality to get there, but here we are. Anyway, and the other thing that I wanted to mention, these things like these the prophecies that are interpreted subjectively. This is all about our personal experiences. Astrologers and intuitive psychics and stuff reading into our futures and stuff like that. It really is just cold reading and our own ability to connect empathetically with other people. Yeah, some people are really good at reading people, and some people are, I would say, more naturally gifted in this area. And so they might appear to be like the most skilled like psychics ever. but they just have like a natural propensity to be more connected or more empathetic than the next person, which is important in our societies, right? Think about how we've developed as a species of humans. We needed like those deeper people to have those emotional types of connections. That's helped us evolve as these complex emotional beings as well. So yeah, this stuff all makes sense to me, at least, in from a naturalistic point of view. For Mormon elders and Jehovah's Witnesses, their faith is free. It's good news to be shared, be it door to door or from the pulpit. Bibles are usually complimentary, and you will even find one in your hotel room should you forget to pack your own copy. However, spiritualist promoters often have a "we know something you don't know" manner, although they are prepared to sell you this knowledge. The keepers of the secret have been silenced until now. It's a conspiracy. Like Kevin Trudeau's books, this is information that they don't want you to know about. I don't know who this person is, but I'm sure I will do research on this person later, probably, so I can figure out what's going on. But yeah, there's a lot. For example, a perfect example is the Kabbalion, which were brought up earlier. The Kabbalion, in the very beginning of it, says things like, whoever, I forget exactly how it says it in the book, but a lot of things like, whoever reads this and who hears the message was like meant to receive the hidden knowledge that was inside of the book. And it's kind of this perception of like, if you don't get it, then you don't get it. Like you're just, you're not there. You're just not getting it or whatever. And it makes you feel like you're missing out, which sucks, you know? Let me see if this makes this bigger. No, it's no difference. Okay. Um, all right. So celebrities become missionaries for their beliefs. If you love their movies and music, now try their religion. Madonna promotes the Kabbalah. Tom Cruise promotes Scientology. Spiritualism is also faddish. The latest products and techniques are hailed as miracles until they fail to work, even as placebos. In a spiritualist treadmill, new concepts soon replace old ones. Believers go from wearing copper bracelets to magnetic necklaces, then following macrobiotic diets to food combining, low carb superfoods, then clean eating. Tahitian noni juice and Himalayan goji berries are modern snake oils claimed to be the elixirs of youth and eternal life. Hair shirts and self-flagellation are the penance for sin, but in spiritualism, the punishments are treatments of detox. Wow, the 11-hour sessions of yoga, colloidal silver, ear candling, cupping, purging, colonic irrigation, nasal irrigation with a neti pot. Those are so bad. They must be good for you. I want to add to this fasting. It's a big, big, big deal in the New Age community. And Dragon says, if only I was blonde and white, I'd be able to profit off of weak-minded people so desperate for a solution by selling them lies. And I understand the sarcasm there. Man, ugh, yeah, it's so man, this just makes me think about kind of I forget what it's called, um, but there's something about like false shamans. Um, I forget. I want to see if I can find the name of it. I don't remember what it is, but yeah, something about there's like fake shamans, basically like whitewashed shamans who go to a retreat, and they learn something about how to become a shaman, and then they call themselves a shaman, and that's pretty much the end of the story. It really sucks, guys. Like I also I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. I It takes a lot to be able to lie to people like that and to mislead people like that. Because I think there's some people who I kind of let slide, but there are some things I'm like, there's no way. There's no way you can't know that there's something off about this that you're selling as a cure for some reason. All right. I'm trying to see how much more we have of this. Quite a little bit left. So I'm going to read maybe a little bit faster because I'm tired. Okay. All right. So, like a cup of chamomile tea. Wait, real quick. False prophets, aka pretending to be sheep, but they're really wolves. Exactly. And New Age community is so chock full of cultural appropriation. It's disturbing. Yeah. Can I tell you, like, I know that like there's a lot of like say like what's it called? Smudging practices that are like sacred to certain communities. And I swear to God, I went to Five Below and found a smudging kit like being sold there. I'm like, this sucks. This sucks. It sucks to have this stuff being commercialized. Like it's nice to like maybe it's nice to find supplies in the store, but at the same time, it's like, yeah, this stuff is just bastardized is the word that comes to mind. All right. So, like a cup of chamomile tea, spiritualism is soothing. It tells us what we want to hear. We have past lives and we will continue to be reincarnated. We don't die. Our souls are just in transition. There's a spiritual afterlife where our guardian angels watch over us and protect us. Having passed on and crossed over to the other side, our loved ones wait for us there. Psychic mediums claim they receive messages from our friends and family. If we're satisfied with a stock message, your mom loves you. Spiritual beliefs can give people false hope. Alternative therapists claim to be able to cure the incurable. For thousands of dollars, a clinic in Tijuana guarantees to cure patients of cancer. This is criminal, some of this stuff, honestly, y'all. For thousands more, a particular zapper device will supposedly heal your dysfunctional liver, purify your blood, boost your immune system, and cure you of illnesses you didn't know you had. Chiropractors and acupuncturists promise to treat your chronic pain. Did y'all know that chiropractic school is like pretty much like a new age practice? And I didn't know that. It's gone to the point where like people are getting like doctorates in this system that's like I'm almost positive it was invented by a guy after some like drug trip or like meditation trip that he had. Not that I'm saying it's bad to come up with stuff after doing a drug trip or meditation trip, but I usually think that your brain is speaking in like figurative terms or analogies, and that you should do some good integration work after a trip before sharing your ideas with a whole bunch of people, but whatever. Spiritual healers promise to heal terminal diseases with their bare hands without surgical instruments or anesthesia or success. Oh, that's embarrassing. Okay, for a substantial donation, evangelists will perform miracles Jesus style, wherein the blind will see and those wheelchairs will walk again. And mostly because they're either plants in the audience or because they're being misled by the person who is doing the healing. Yeah, so there's a little bit of kind of the energy healing stuff here that's mentioned here in this paragraph. All right, look at this. Uh, what's Lupa's name now? This one just made me laugh. And yeah, like it's so upsetting. It's so upsetting how people are like, oh yeah, we love Mother Gaia. We want to protect her and like nourish her and like nurture her and everything. But then at the same time, they will ravage these mining communities and stuff like that. All for people to have some $5 crystal. Not gonna lie, I am guilt. I love. Look at that. I have pretty rocks there and all that display case but I love crystals. I think they're so pretty. But we're getting into the place now where people are like, we have crystal surgery, y'all. This stuff is real. I think that, like, for example, I think that there is something about energy healing that is definitely useful for people. But then when we start to get into the land of like crystal surgery, then I'm like, okay, where do we draw the line here? You can't like cure someone's thyroid cancer with a crystal. They really are. They really are just using and abusing her. They're clapping Mama Gaia's cheeks for a quick buck, and it hurts me. I hate it, y'all. It makes me so upset. So upset. Okay, if you don't like it, then don't believe it. With no fixed ideology, believers can afford to go spiritual shopping. Yeah. How they say, take what resonates with you and leave the rest. This gives rise to the ad hoc adaptation and abandonment of beliefs and practices. Some see the freedom of choice as a strength, but this cherry picking often masks underlying problems, breeding hypocrisy. People try a bit of everything and discard what doesn't work or suit their biases. Oh, here, yep. Sylvia Brown's motto summarizes the spiritualist ethos: take what you want and leave the rest, and leave the rest behind. I think that this is almost there, almost a good idea. What I say is, I think that I've heard someone else, there's this other guy, his quote is like, you eat the grapes and you spit out the seeds. Like, you take what's good, but you really kind of distance yourself from the stuff that isn't helpful. This is more of like, you can believe whatever sounds good for you. Like, just listen to what I say. But if something that I say, like, you don't like it, just leave out that part and forget that I said that and just listen to the rest of what I said. So that is kind of where some of the issues start. So, should skeptics be skeptical about New Age spiritualism? The answer is going to be yes. But let's see what they say. Overall, spiritualist beliefs are pseudo-religious. They are also pseudo-scientific too. And this is where I have a problem. Belief systems tend to be outside the realm of skepticism for many skeptics, but irrational, dangerous, unscientific practices are always our concern and are often testable. Spiritualism is often framed as religion, but also framed as science. A lot of the quantum stuff is big now. This can be confusing for the consumer. Proponents claim that they too were skeptical until they were convinced by the evidence. Anecdotal evidence is still evidence, right? Isn't it? The homeopathic preparations are beside the aspirin. Wow, on the pharmacy shelves. Yeah, we have homeopathic stuff right next to the aspirin. Almost looks like it's equal, right? The herbs are so natural, they must be safe. Traditional Chinese medicine has been around for thousands of years. The naturopath has had nicer bedside manner than the medical doctor. So the only thing that supersedes science is the exotic. If it's foreign and especially Eastern, it is imbued with unquestionable authority and wisdom. If you are interested in critical thinking at all, I would recommend that you do a little bit of research in logical fallacies. And one of the logical fallacies, if someone says this practice has been here for 20,000 years or whatever, I'm going to be like, thanks for the time length. Like, I don't care how long a belief has been established. It can still be wrong. Humans believed that the earth was the center of the solar system for quite a while. The Bible said it. We believed it for quite a long time as a society and culture. And people I think either almost or definitely did get killed when they said that, no, actually the sun is the center of the earth or the center of our solar system. So just because the idea is old doesn't mean that it's right. Doesn't mean that it's the best idea. Does it mean that there's maybe something to it that is useful, that it's stuck around for so long? Yeah. Maybe there's something to look at, but not that the entire idea is true. Okay, Dragon saying experiences that I've had with people trying to finesse the fuck out of me, claiming to be spiritual news people. Boy, I can't wait to hear your stories. One unibrow having your goals. I don't know. Sorry, I'm just reading your comments now. Yeah, that's a lot of money. Try to get $500 out of you for lessons to learn how to meditate and manifest. And okay, I see you canceled his varsity letter and thought that he would. Okay, I see what you're saying now in that one. Yeah, man. Yeah. Oh, you think it was Galileo? Okay. See, I knew that someone got killed for one of these ideas. But yeah, we pay. I've paid a ton of money to spiritual people who I thought would help me more than they did. It's not fun. It's not fun at all. Uh, and yeah, you paid $230 for a necklace with a dog bone on it after essentially feeling emotionally manipulated and seeing how the person is thriving. Wow, compared to me. Yeah, see, a person is like, you know what, if you just bought this thing, like I'm having this in my life and X, Y, and Z, and everything's beautiful for whatever. And so if you just do this thing that I'm also doing, then maybe you'll have it as well. So you pay people the money. This is exactly what those like the MLM people do. That's why I'm saying, guys, critical thinking is important because it doesn't just help you with spiritual ideas. It helps you in your life entirely. I just want you, everyone who's watching, I want you to learn how to think for yourself and protect yourself from horrible people. One of the issues that I have is I have been too trusting. My Christian upbringing, and I think also my neurodivergence makes me a little bit oblivious to certain things. I can't always see when someone has malicious intent towards me. I'll just believe that they're being nice and kind or whatever. And I won't be able to tell that they're trying to butter me up to manipulate me because it's happened before. So now I'm a little bit more aware of this stuff. I'm aware of my limitations personally, and I can make better decisions. Oh, I've spent so much money on tarot, crystals, Reiki, candles, and books. I want a refund. Ugh. Yeah, that's the thing, y'all. And I'm gonna pause real quick just because I want to like give a personal message because it is so important. It's so important for your spirituality to be this genuine thing. It should come from inside. It should bubble up and fix my. It should bubble up from inside of you, and honestly it should be something that you can access with the things that you have around you right now. Like I'm the idea of a Zen garden is so cool to me. I want one, right? I think that it's so awesome. But I bought one and I kind of don't like it that much. It's kind of not what I hoped, but I want something like that. And I have recently, over the past couple of days, been like going on walks and finding pieces of moss that have the texture of them makes, I don't know, it just makes me feel so happy on the inside, and like other rocks and textures and stuff that I can find in nature. So I'm like working on building my own little like a meditative moss rock garden that I can just like feel and be present with. Like, and that's my own version of how I'm kind of coming up with my own spirituality. And I'm doing it from stuff I'm finding on the street. I'm finding on the walks and dirt from our basement that we had from last season. You know, I'm not buying anything new. So that's kind of another thing. Like when we find spirituality that comes from inside of us, we hopefully don't have to waste our money on things. And you also said the other thing about there's pain from doing tattoos and piercings and stuff. Yeah, and then there's masochism. There's hurting yourself for the right reasons, needles, tattoos, and surgeries. And then there's masochism. I think a lot of the detox people do a lot of that. I don't think that they're doing it on purpose. Like I don't know. Maybe it's subconscious. I'm not going to make judgments about other people's behavior. But yeah, and Dragon, I agree with you. Especially now that I've gotten my first tattoos, I think it's way more beneficial to put art on my body and even to work on developing my body. Like that's more important than some other things. Because at least when I die, my body will have the art I put on there. You know what? See that to me, like my body, and I know this is kind of graphic, but like my body will rot and like become one with the earth, and then no one can take that away from me. Like that to me, like that's beautiful. I was just talking to my wife about like when I die, like I like definitely wanting to be like composted or something where I get to be like have the natural processes for the earth to like for Mother Nature to like take me back almost or whatever, because I don't know, it feels meaningful to me. Um, I don't believe in an afterlife. I can't know for sure. That'd be nice for sure. It'd be really pretty and fun. I don't know though. So my version of an afterlife is going to be that. It's going to be me being in the ground, being one with the universe in a very real, tangible way. You know, even though I'm dead. Okay, so I reappropriated my Christianity into being more complex and more queer positive for myself. The non-binary community claimed the biblically accurate angel as a sigil, which I love. And I love, you know what? If I know that this is a joke, but like since everyone's appropriating religions, why don't we appropriate Christianity for ourselves and make it into something queer friendly? And I love that idea. Do something that feels right for you. All right, let's get back into the article. We have just a little, yeah, we're way over halfway done. Okay. All right. So, all right. Oh, hey, Hollis. Science has credibility and spiritualism can appear to be integrative. Parapsychology and postmodernism have a scientific facade. Oh, everybody's favorite, Dr. Deepak Chopra, is a medical doctor. Bruce Lipton aims to bridge science and spirit. Feng Shui is adapted for businesses. And there are psychic financial advisors. Even, it's coming up later. Homeopathic doses of physics are blended with a hyperdimensional physics and linguistics with neuro-linguistic programming. Oh, and if anyone's familiar with NLP, a lot of mind reading, psychic-y stuff, even like mind control a little bit is involved with NLP. It's a little sketchy in my opinion. It gives me like those dating coaches vibes, like they're like body reading experts who like learn how to manipulate other people's behavior by like mirroring their behavior so they become more comfortable with you, which I think is fine in some ways and also a little bit creepy. So astrology aligns itself to astronomy, and birth chart delications give the semblance of science. You even have astrology readings for businesses, which I've also heard is a thing. Electromagnetic readers are scientific tools used irrelevantly for ghost hunting. Oh, yeah. Which is interesting. So that's one thing that I figured out is kind of interesting. So like they'll use electromagnetic readers to pick up stuff from ghosts, which are non-corporeal beings so they technically shouldn't be able to interfere with things like the magnetic fields or electricity on our plane because those are matter, but like they're not material, but the whole thing. Anyway, so spiritualism does not use the scientific method. Its approaches are metaphysical, not empirical. So please, my friends, don't get it twisted. If anyone in the spiritual circle says they're using science, question that. Question them deeply. I'm not saying that they're wrong. I'm saying that they probably are misappropriating science and they're not actually using the scientific method. Some proponents of spiritualism promulgate inaccurate and often unsafe ideas. Anti-vaccination organizations engage in fear-mongering campaigns, leaving communities susceptible to contagious diseases. This was written in 2009, friends. But as I mentioned earlier, we have from the new age to alt-right pop pipeline, and a lot of that was allowed with the coronavirus stuff there. Moonlighting conspiracy theorists jeopardize the public's understanding of science. Also flat earthers. Historical revisionists rewrite historically erroneously. We talked about the Anunnaki earlier in this video. Even if a spiritualist theory is proven wrong, it's reinterpreted as correct. Once again, Franz Mesmer's, I think it's called animalistic magnetism, where his entire theory was debunked. People are still using animal magnetism as a foundation for their beliefs. People don't care. They don't care if it's disproven. The end of the world is always nigh, but suddenly this becomes a metaphor for any current global problem. Of course, the next scheduled Armageddon is the real one. Like this was the plan, the COVID thing. This was a great reset or some type of something, right? That everyone thought was some magical destined event. Some spiritualism is guilty of undoing science and is harmful when it actively undermines what is known. Scientists turned pseudoscientists commit this academic irresponsibility. They disregard science and discard their formal education, yet flaunt their qualifications, invoking the lexicon of science with convincing authority. The meta-language of physics, math, and neuroscience is adopted to appeal to the intellect of consumers. Fringe scientists try to persuade the public with conventional yet ambiguous terminology like quantum, and energy. I've talked about these before. Recognizable, trusted terms are used to peddle spiritual concepts persuasively. Spiritual practitioners are psychic surgeons, psychic detectives, herbal therapists. The unorthodox is portrayed as orthodox, giving us Ayurvedic medicine and homeopathic vaccines. What? I didn't even know that existed. If you don't know what homeopathy is, it's the science that when you dilute a medication, it's stronger than when it is undiluted. So I think it's like if you were to take one aspirin and like dilute it in like a huge lake full of water and drink that, it's supposed to be more potent than the other than if you took it directly, which like doesn't make logical sense. That's what homeopathy is. But you're going to get a homeopathic vaccine. Like that doesn't make any sense to me. Anyway, so science is name driven, is name dropped in the science of getting rich, and Christian Science, Scientologists, and I don't even know, Raelians blend science fiction into their theories. Scientologists' ideas with the Thetan. Um, the other thing, guys, that's kind of that I feel icky about is I've been learning about Scientology, and a lot of New Age beliefs are really similar to Scientology beliefs as well. Yeah, yes, don't mind me. Basically, treating people with the placebo effect, and y'all, people want to shit on the placebo effect and call it not cool. I think the placebo effect is one of the coolest things that the human body can do. I think that it's incredible. I personally use the placebo effect in my own life to help me just get through things randomly, right? So I've learned for my whole life of conditioning myself to work on the placebo effect, but I didn't know in an unaware fashion. Now I've learned how to use it in a way that like actually helps my life. Maybe I'll talk about that in another video if you guys are interested. Another thing I've noticed is a lot of vegans have this sanctimoniousness about them because the tofu the pig got to live just another day thanks to them. Yo, yes. I also have that type of, yeah, I don't even know what to say. I agree with you and I understand your feelings about that. I don't know. It's because I think it's fine to be a vegan. I think it's like sometimes people get this idea of like, I don't know, uppity feeling about themselves for some reason. Like a spiritual person like me, for example, I'm saying this because I did it, right? So I would meditate in the morning and like do a meditation and like send loving energy to the world and like think about myself in some type of way afterwards, you know? Like, and that's not a bad thing. I ain't coming for you. I ain't coming for you, River. I understand what you're doing. I understand, and I think that it's a brave thing to do. I was a vegan for like 2 years, 2 or 3 years. But yeah, sometimes I'm not saying not everyone. I think sometimes people use it as a way to feel extra good about themselves. And like I said, I didn't meditate to make myself feel good about myself. It was an added benefit to the practice. I did it because I wanted to and I felt good to send love to the universe. I hope that makes sense. Both things can exist at the same time. It can be like a secondary benefit of doing something nice. Like when you donate to the poor or you do like a shoe drive or something like that, like you'll end up feeling accomplished about it. You didn't do it for that purpose, hopefully. Well, not hope. Well, maybe you did do it for that purpose, but you went to go help other people, but also you got something out of it, right? Yes, there are some uppity vegans out there. Let's see. Flexitarian. I don't know what that is, but I love it. Yes, I don't. I'm not knocking the placebo effect, but I'd rather have someone tell me I can heal naturally than still having me take the meds. Yeah, I think that man, I think that people should just be told. People should just be told the truth, and both sides. Um, because one thing that amazes me is whenever they do scientific studies, people with the placebo get better. Okay, people who are taking sugar pills or fake treatments are getting better from real diseases. So that's crazy. You know what I'm saying? Okay, exactly. There's tons of uppity people are everywhere, y'all. All right, let's get back into it. We're almost done. So gut feelings, intuition, and knowing are employed to defend extraordinary claims for which there is no extraordinary evidence. Instead of addressing the burden of proof, claimants expect skeptics to disprove their outrageous claims. Correlation equals causation to some non-skeptics, and Occam's razor is simply ignored. I believe Occam's razor is kind of the simplest explanation is the most likely. Let's do a quick look up here. I think that this should come up for you guys too. Oh no, it doesn't come up. So it's Occam's razor is the principle that in explaining a thing, no more assumptions should be made than are necessary. Okay, yeah, we shouldn't have to assume anything. The simplest explanation is usually the best. We don't want to assume anything. For example, if you hear hoofs coming down the road, you don't think, oh, I'm moving in central Pennsylvania, I bet that's a zebra. You're going to say, no, I'm sure it's probably like, more likely if it was a Amish person visiting town, that would be more likely, or just a stray horse, right? Not a zebra. You want to kind of think logically. So when someone loses, like for me, when I was deep in my spirituality stuff, I would lose something and I'd be like, oh my God, it was the Fae. The Fae took my pencil and now I can't find it. And I would just find it under my desk or something later. Because like who, you know what I'm saying? It's just like, I don't know. Nah, whatever. I have heard weird ass stories though. That's the thing, y'all. While I'm a very skeptical person, I've heard stories that people have told me before that I have no explanation for. But just because people have told me stuff, like this exactly says gut feelings, intuitions, knowing people's anecdotal experiences, people's personal descriptions of their personal experiences can't be proof for me, for my life. If anything, it's an interesting story that makes me think, keeps me up at night for a couple hours, but that's pretty much it. All right, so this is the last chunk here. New Age spiritualism fills the void created by secularization. This is one of the problems I think that we're facing in our culture is people don't know what to do when they don't believe in religion. They don't know what to do anymore. So they just choose spirituality. But oftentimes they can kind of push them towards a route where I don't know, you start getting a little bit disconnected from reality. Not everyone gets this far. I just will say that. So we're trying to address the shortfalls of religion and the gaps of knowledge, offering a modern alternative. Self-identifying as a spiritual person conveniently addresses the question, what do you believe in? Otherwise, you're just a soulless, immoral atheist. Spiritualism is not overtly religious, and perhaps this is why it appeals to some people as non-committal, secular belief system for those not ready to give up the trappings of religion. That's exactly what it was for me, but it's a breakaway from religion. Spiritual beliefs can be stepping stones on the path to letting go of religion. Exactly. Oh, like I said, this was a good article. Perhaps we are all a little spiritual by social necessity. Is that interesting? Spiritual beliefs and practices tend to reflect popular culture and lifestyle. In a sense, we're merely living in our own times when we utter, thank God. We speak of a soul or spirit, or we burn an incense stick, we shop for organic food, read our stars in the newspaper, or self-medicate with vitamin supplements. These seem to be customary, but we don't want to assign unrelated significance to these acts. And I think that's really important. Not assigning unrelated significance to the act of doing things like looking up at the stars and feeling a tingling in your heart, or having a meditative experience and like seeing something incredible, like not necessarily making it mean more than it actually does. Yeah. Some see spirituality in every experience. To pattern-seeking minds, a simple thought becomes an epiphany. Emotions become intuition. An earthquake becomes an act of God. A solar eclipse becomes a bad omen. Bonding with an animal becomes mystical. Surviving an accident triggers religious sentiment. Birth becomes miraculous. death becomes sacred, right? And once again, as a neurodivergent person who is very much pattern seeking, I could see spirituality in literally everything, which made life really interesting. Um, but like I said, a little bit disconnected. Great question. Hold on one second. I want to pause to answer this question because it's super, super important. What's the problem with being disconnected from reality? What do I mean by that? That's a really good question. And I have a lot of varying opinions on this as a therapist. And I think that one, being disconnected from reality sometimes can mean that you're disconnected from yourself. You're disconnected from your individual truth. Um, and it can happen in a lot of different ways. Sometimes you are disconnected from reality by people, like, if you're like, for example, like literally in some type of occult situation and they're telling you like, you know, I remember watching this one. It was kind of a what's it called, a parody of a cult, but like they were in a bunker underground for like several years, and someone told them that outside of the bunker, the entire world was destroyed. Like, so they're believing a reality that's not true or accurate to their life, and so like it's their reality in the sense that that's what they're being told and that's what they're experiencing being in this bunker. But the truth is that they're being lied to in a bunker and that everything is fine outside of the bunker. Um, I think being disconnected from reality involves, I think, oftentimes believing things that aren't true. For me, like I was, I was like really ungrounded in the sense where my beliefs became I was pretty like very solipsistic in my perspective. Like my perspective was like one of the only ones. Kind of like most things in life were more of an illusion. Like life is more of a game type of a thing. I can play around and like things can be more fun and free. The guy Aaron, I think in the video that I made a couple weeks ago, talked exactly like this. Like you could do whatever you want in reality because it's all a game. Like kind of in some, as an analogy, life is a game, but this is also very real. If you die, you don't get to respawn. But some people literally, when they're that disconnected from reality, will believe that they can respawn, and they will do damaging things. Sometimes they'll even. There was a person who was told that they could. That they were in a really bad spot in their life and they needed to reset. They needed to reset and kind of come back as a new body. So they unalived themselves. There are real consequences to not being grounded. Another one is when I was more ungrounded, I was maybe more interested in like my perspective and like me kind of accomplishing my divine mission rather than like anyone else's like life or function or purpose or anything like that. Um, and the other thing is, I believed things that weren't true about myself. Like I believed that my soul was from another planet. Like my soul was like had come from was from like another dimension or another planet or something like that. And so I was like not full. I was like human, but in this like weird way. And I was like destined for these things. They impacted the way that I lived my life. They did also impart some distress to my life as well. I hope maybe some of that can make sense. There's so many other ways that being disconnected from reality can be damaging. We have, I think, the very light versions of it. For example, when someone has a really bad dream and they wake up and then they start claiming that they were abducted by aliens, but their life is pretty much very normal other than that. Like that's kind of a partial maybe disconnection from reality. And then you have someone who's like in a full psychosis, like not like very much not present with the world, having very difficult time connecting with other human beings, very hard time taking care of themselves, also in this reality, feeling very disconnected from real life. Also, being disconnected means you can't connect with people. Like I see a lot of people in the spiritual zone, and I know because I was one of them and I know how it felt like, but they're just like glazed over in their eyes. Like they're like, they're just somewhere else. And yeah. And people can do that. Like you guys can live there if you want. People can do this if they want, right? I am speaking to the people who are uncomfortable with being ungrounded and would like to feel more grounded. So, yeah. And like I said, as a therapist, like you're toying around with psychosis. Like the line can be very blurred, and people can do some stuff that's messed up. Yeah, my dog. You can hear my dog. Yeah, my wife just got home from the wildlife center, and so they're excited. I think, and we're dog sitting another dog, which is also very cute. Okay, I'm almost done this article, guys. I swear to God, I will finish this if it kills me. Okay. All right. Some find spiritual experiences in society. Oh no, I think I said that already. No, I didn't. Okay. Coincidences become synchronicity. Luck is not made. Outside influences affect our lives. We chose our parents before we're born. Our friends are kindred spirits. Our partner is our soulmate. We tend to observe the hits and ignore the misses. This is very good. The pattern recognition and the confirmation bias is huge here. And also confirmation bias also is part of like psychosis. That's what frustrates me, guys. It's like I'm literally sitting in sessions with people who are saying things to me that I hear people on Instagram saying like, my spiritual guide just told me this, and I'm literally in session with someone who's like in distress from their visions. So I guess it depends on people's personal interpretations of what they're seeing. If some people are having a good time with it, and if some people are having a bad time with it, I don't know. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So we recall that chance encounter that led us to meet our partner. We forget the car accident and the unsuccessful relationships. Alternatively, we put these down to bad luck and read the failures as life lessons we were meant to have on the path of finding our true selves. Some find spiritual experiences in nature. The complexity of nature is misinterpreted as evidence for a creator or designer. We derive incredible emotional satisfaction from physical phenomena. Some wish on shooting stars and rainbows, sunsets and night skies inspire romance, wistfulness, and hope. These powerful feelings can be so overwhelming that they seem to come from beyond, but they come from within. This is the naturalist connection to the universe, of which Carl Sagan spoke. But the awe is misconstrued as divine. I'm going to note that and come back to that later. Spiritualism is what we make spiritual. It's about meaning. We tend to think our spiritual experiences are unique and deeply meaningful, and they are to us. They are no doubt profound, right? I'm not taking away from anyone's personal experience. You get to keep your experiences. You get to eat the cake and have it too, right? You just have to be grounded, in my opinion. But they are human experiences and individual experiences. Assigning additional importance to them is a subjective attempt to understand the objective world. For many, spiritualism is an ongoing quest. The search for truth ends in falsehood. The shamans and gurus are false gods. Enlightenment becomes disillusionment. But many seekers of New Age spiritualism never seem to find what they're looking for. Dun dun. All right. Cool. This article makes a lot of sweeping generalizations as if they are obvious fact, and that I'm not very comfortable with. TBH. I would be curious as to like some examples of some of the facts or the generalizations you are stated as fact. There are a lot of generalizations, kind of like saying things like very generally about like how people believe things and how people do things and how like certain people have certain beliefs and stuff like that. And I think that a lot of that is definitely true. This is definitely coming from a less nuanced perspective than I have personally. That's what I said when I was first starting this live stream, was that like some of the skeptics have less value for spiritual stuff than I guess than like a religious person or theist. I would say that I'm somewhere in the middle. Like I think that some like atheists have gone a little bit too far into the like not doing anything spiritual or religious, or there's no value in religious or spirituality. I think that's not true. I'm pretty like I really don't like religion. I don't really like belief in God much at all personally. I'm very strongly atheist, maybe even like anti-theist a little bit, but like whatever. That's true. Yeah. So it says spiritualism says this, and you're right. It's so difficult because it's talking about like a very specific form of spiritualism and this like new age spirituality that was invented in the 1960s. And so but a lot of people like for it did hit on a lot of the experiences that I had. And I think River said the article hit the nail on the head for me, especially when it said spiritual people are looking for something but never found what they're looking for. And there might be other things, River, that you resonate with. But how it's like I resonate with a lot of the experiences. Like I felt a lot of the ways that they described as they were reading, as they were writing some of this out. But I definitely would agree that it does not include every group. So like one line, it says spiritualism is not overtly religious. There probably are some spiritualistic sects that are very deeply religious. I actually remember even reading, I don't think it's the Kabbalion. It's another one of those ancient texts that talks about the importance of like being religious. So yeah, there are a lot. I definitely agree. There are a ton of sweeping generalizations in this text. I think they did a lot of good research into the very modern Western New Age spirituality form of spiritualism. And I think in the beginning of the article, they were pretty clear about that. But yeah, I'll try to link the video in the description so that people can read it. I forgot to do that before I started. Okay. So I was atheist before getting into spirituality, and learning about how it has connections to Christianity makes me feel like I've been played because I was trying to get away from Christianity and religion. I felt the exact same way. I felt duped. Like really, I felt awful for a really long time. I was like bitter and like really upset at myself for a really long time. It wasn't that long actually, probably like a month or two. It was like this summer was like my confused, angry period about spirituality and stuff like that. But now that I feel more grounded and stuff, like I feel less bitter. I feel grateful for all the things that I've learned. But take your time in this journey getting to the place where you don't even need to get here. You need to even get to the spot where I'm at. You need to get to the space where you need to get to. Yeah, duped, scammed, played, punked. Yeah, especially for me, like being like having money being involved in the situation that I was in, where a person was like not honest and deceitful and manipulative and stuff like that. But like masquerade, like I said, I wrote the title, darkness masquerading as light. Like a lot of people are doing shady shit, but they're covering it up with this love and light stuff, and it's fucked. It makes me really angry. But yeah, don't mind me. What do I think about clairvoyance, sentience, and claircognizant things? I think they're very interesting. I think that um, I think that they're real, very much so. I think that people like for a okay, yeah, I'm getting to that. So, for example, like clairvoyance can be interpreted to be kind of like a person seeing things in their mind's eye that connect them to the divine, or that they can use to help other people maybe connect to the divine. Maybe they see visions of the future, etc. Maybe it can be in dreams or things like that. And Yeah, I think that there people are talking about very real experiences that they're having, but maybe they're adding a little bit of a divine aspect to a very like natural process. Um, like uh, for example, like when I am, especially when I'm doing work like in therapy with people, um, and if I feel like especially, I don't know why it doesn't happen all the time, but like sometimes they'll talk to me, and I'll get like flashes of like visions of things that'll come up, and I'll share it with the person. I'm like, I'm getting this like this picture of X, Y, and Z, and I'll be like, oh my God, that's exactly like how I'm feeling, right? And I don't think in my head like, wow, I am clairvoyant and I saw their soul. I just think that like the way that I connect with the world, the way that I can be empathetic with another person allows me to kind of like filter their story through my, I don't know, collective internal magical world in my brain, and it presents me this experience that helps me to connect with this other person. Um, yeah. Okay. I feel like this is people trying to fit spiritual experience slash aspirations into the same framework they learned from religious philosophy, and that is unlikely to work out. Exactly my point. So, and I think that was my problem is I went straight from Christianity to spirituality, and I just got sucked back in. I didn't learn how to like, I don't know, I didn't learn how to like actually figure out how to believe something for myself and kind of start from ground zero. I started from like I deconstructed. It's like, okay, this is the religious zone. I deconstructed like here, and then I like moved on to like spirituality. I needed to come down here and like really learn how to kind of like think critically, and then start making some choices about my beliefs. And that's where I feel like I'm at now. Maybe in the future I'll choose to believe some other stuff in the future. If I have other experiences, I might change my opinion. If I receive new evidence, I might change my opinion. But right now, this is where I'm at. Um, I feel like being told I'm clairvoyant or cognizant bumps my ego. Oh my gosh, yes, it does for sure. Like yes, okay, that also is also a thing. Um, let me tell you a story. Okay, so growing up, my family has been very spiritual. My dad, is he's a brilliant guy, and he would often talk about the way that he was able to view the world, and he knew that he was able to recognize patterns and stuff, that he was able to see the direction that things were going. He was able to make predictions that were oftentimes correct. And so as a Christian, and I think he was born, in a little bit of the Pentecostal zone, and being Haitian and stuff, he's seen a lot of supernatural stuff growing up in Haiti, especially with the voodoo and stuff that went on there. So he said, like, he would say, like, he wouldn't like maybe he wouldn't proclaim it a lot, but he would say in passing, like, I think I have a little bit of some prophetic skills, maybe. He wouldn't fully claim it, but so he had kind of a gift of prophecy, so to speak. And knowing that my dad had some of that, I kind of maybe looked at myself with and kind of curious if I had something like that as well. But now in my life that I'm kind of discovering more of my neurodivergence, I've kind of like learned obviously about my ADHD for years and years and years, and then more recently kind of like self-determining autism, like, and then looking back at my life and like realizing that a lot of autism also explained a lot of my dad's behaviors and the ways that he was and stuff like that. And pattern recognition is help pattern recognition can appear to be psychic, like uh precognizance, I would say. If someone is skilled enough at developing their pattern recognition, they might be able to pick things up that might happen in the future. Also, sometimes it's just coincidence. We have a dream about something and then it happens. Sometimes things are really, really accurate, and it might feel weird, but it doesn't mean that it's like not just a coincidence. Could there be basically saying that like maybe we should have like our first thought might be, oh my gosh, like that means that I, am a prophet since I saw something. But to me, that's kind of like hearing the hoof prints and thinking zebra instead of like horse. I hope that connection makes sense. Um, Neither one is wrong or bad. Like either all of them are fine, but like what's actually happening. Um, yeah. And then the other thing, guys, sometimes this can be so hard because you have people who are like confusing their intuition with their OCD or with their intrusive thoughts, and that you get into really messy territory there. Um, I have a lot of feelings about this, guys. Um, Let me give you another practical example. There was a woman who is a coach of some kind. Um, yeah, so there was a woman who was a coach of some kind, and she, I guess, she had made people. She sold a course to these people, and she was like 20 minutes late to the Zoom presentation. She comes into the thing like in a towel, wrapped up, and she's like, "Guys, Spirit just told me to go take a shower." And I was like, "I can't take a shower right now. Like, I have a presentation." But Spirit kept telling me over and over and over and over again to take a shower. And so I took a shower and I got out. And then Spirit told me to go back in there and take another shower. And she did those like 3 or 4 times. And then was like, and then Spirit told me to tell you to sell a course for $10,000 and not, and I don't know what it's for. It's just for $10,000. And whoever wants to buy it should buy it. So cool, right? People bought it. She sold all of the courses. If they want to do that, fine, right? Cool. To me, as a clinician, I'm like, those are pretty like pretty clear, like obsessive compulsive, like voices that you heard and that you just like and you interpreted that as like a spiritual message from God, but it's just like a compulsion that tells you to take a shower over and over again. Um, so what does it matter if some call it clairvoyance? If you want to call it clairvoyance, that's totally fine. I think that the issue for me, why I wouldn't call it clairvoyance, is that clairvoyance has a lot of implications, like mystical implications, that I'm receiving these messages from the divine in some way, and I'm interpreting them through some divine channel. I don't believe that that's what's happening. So if I were to use those terms, I would feel confused. If someone didn't believe in clairvoyance but said it over and over, I might get like a little bit. I'm not sure what you're talking about, because it has this other connotation, right? Um, like, for example, I still do things that maybe would be considered prayer, but I don't call it prayer anymore. I just am kind of releasing my thoughts to the void or whatever. That maybe that's the difference. Is terminology, the baggage that comes with the word, particularly. Um, yeah, yeah, exactly. And that too, some type of yeah, you're on some detective shit for real. Like, I'm excited for you to figure out what's going on. Because there are, and I'm doing, because okay, one of the issues with saying, oh, it's just the mystical, we stop being curious. Okay. We've discovered that synesthesia is a thing, right? There are people who see the world in color, right? That people back in the day would have thought that they were magical people, right? That the gods have chosen them to see the true colors of the world, X, Y, or Z. But in reality, that's not what's happening. What's happening is the way that their brain is wired with their sensory perception is just a little bit different than maybe the typical human brain. Not bad or anything. It adds a lot of interest into their life and is very unique. It's very special, right? It's just not divine or magical at all. Like, it's just a natural biological human thing. There are so many different types of synesthesia that exist. And the sensory like crisscrossing is very common in neurodivergent people. So I wouldn't be like bad, like, or I don't know where I was going with that. But the thing is like, we won't do that kind of research if we just say, well, it just comes from the brain or whatever. It just comes from the divine. It's this divine thing that we can't ever understand. It's the same thing with people who just say the universe was just created by God or by the consciousness, and we just can never know. I don't know if we can ever know. Science is they're still looking because they don't know. They're going to still be curious, and I am down for that type of curiosity, right? I'm interested. All I have right now is this realm, right? If this is an illusion, if this is a video game that we're living in, all right, then that's what's happening. But all I can do is like live it out like this is all I've got and like this is real. Okay. Um, and yeah, so And I think this type of discovery is really great. And this type of curiosity is what gets us to where we are now. This curiosity is why we are able to be talking to each other through this webcam and computer, and like we're talking, and all of this stuff is available because of science, because we ask questions, not because we thought it was from God. Electricity isn't real, it's just from God. Like, it's not, it's just, am I making sense? I'm getting frustrated. I don't know why I'm getting frustrated. I'm just getting frustrated in my body because I think, yeah, there's good reason to ask questions and to not settle for what the wisdom of 10,000 years ago said. I appreciate the wisdom that they have because we wouldn't be able to be here without their wisdom. Astrology or astronomy would not be here without astrology, right? We are indebted to the system of astrology. Um, but we cannot look at astrology for scientific evidence. Like, that's not what we're going to do. We have outgrown it in that sense. I would say it still has value in terms of helping people guide their life in a creative or spiritual sense. Great, I love it. I'm down for it. But it's not evidence, right? And for me, it's just about kind of seeing what's what, measuring different things. What can I rely on? What can I not rely on? Yeah, and all of this is because I had a bad. And another thing, someone Hollis asked earlier, like, what's so bad about being disconnected from reality? I didn't enjoy it. The reintegration to reality is not fun. It was painful and difficult, and I had to reevaluate everything about my life. It was yeah, like I said, uncomfortable. It felt uh, like deprogramming again after Christian, like I was unbrainwashing myself for a really long time. Uh, yeah, and because I still have very, very ingrained spiritual patterns within myself, um, that I feel like are just going to be there probably forever. And I've learned how to kind of give them an avenue to do what they want to do in my brain, so I can kind of live my life. But yeah, and you're welcome. I really love doing this. And you're saying having my deconstruction era thrust upon me by no longer being able to white knuckle holding onto the face that was raised in. So I'm trying to learn everything I can. Me too, dude. I tried, oh, I wanted so badly for Christianity to be real, guys. I wanted it to be real so bad. It was so devastating. And then I wanted to be spiritual, like all the new age stuff. I wanted that to be real so bad too. I just kept being like heartbroken over and over again. It was awful. Um, and it sucks realizing you're not the chosen one. Yeah. It made it. I really struggled, guys, for a long time. I didn't know what my life was for anymore. I didn't know. I went from my life being God's, like Jesus. My life was dedicated to kind of bringing Jesus's name higher, raising it higher, and then it was to raise the collective consciousness, to help wake people up, and then it was like nothing, and I went into this field of like, I am nothing, and this earth is just a floating rock, and I'm just a part of this. I'm just like a blip of energy in this like energy wave that is the universe's existence or whatever, and like I don't really matter that much anymore. It hurts really bad. Um, it's really deflating, very deflating. You feel very small, much smaller than you ever felt. um, because I remember from before, it was like, you are really small in the universe, but even so, God chose you to be his whatever. Before you were born, you were chosen, and that felt really great. But to find out that that wasn't true hurt. Yeah, it did. It sucked real bad, real bad. But now I'm at a place where I can literally be stripped down to nothing, and I'm like, I'm I'm good. Like, I don't need an afterlife for security. Like, that took a while too. That was hard. Um, it's scary to trust. It's scary to trust. Like, I'm like, okay, my spirituality is kind of like, I know that the earth is just a planet, but like I'll call her Gaia and like feel feelings towards it because I like it and it feels nice for me. Um, but like, yeah, like I trust her. Like I trust like the fact that like this is all like making sense now. But at the same time, I'm like recognizing that like this is this pretend thing that I made up in order to make myself feel better. You know what I mean? Like I own that. I own that 100%. I've made this up, right? This it just feels it feels nice, right? That's I have my made up land stuff that I know is not real that I can kind of play around with, and then I have my real life where science is the where the earth, the sun, you know, the earth revolves around the sun. We are we are in this reality together, consensus reality. I can play around and I should be able to come back here. um yeah, it it just don't fight it, don't fight understanding that like, and I don't think that it has to be depressing. I think that it gives you freedom to find meaning. Life is meaningless, therefore you can find meaning. Not life is meaningless, therefore like end it all. Like use this as an opportunity to rebuild your life for what you actually want to do. And it was kind of a relief though that the new age stuff kind of got scary and gave me a lot of anxiety, especially with the thoughts of your thoughts creating reality. It made me so paranoid. Me too. It was bad. It was getting really bad. I I I'm gonna be honest, y'all, with y'all right now. So I think I had some maybe obsessive tendencies before, but it turned into some serious, like more uh, closely mirroring like obsessive compulsive disordered behavior. I'm not diagnosing myself with OCD, but like some of that became a normal repetitive thought pattern. It was not fun at all. Um, animal go other direction. Okay, don't mind me if this hurts more, but that's not the right direction either. Think like an animal, as we are. Pain bad, go other direction, away from pain. I think like as a human animal, the fact that we are able to go against our biology, that's like the one unique aspect of being a human. Like we pull away from the things we pull away from the things that hurt us, and that's like the natural thing to go, just to move towards things that feel good only, and to stay away from things that feel bad. I think that a well-rounded I'm not sure if this is what you were getting at, but a well-rounded place to be is to say like sometimes we need to move towards things that hurt us. I personally had this like thought process that if I believed it and it made me feel good, then it was true for me. And that was the thing. It was true for me. Like uh, at the time. And it was true for me at the time, but it wasn't like the truth or reality, right? I needed to do the hard, painful work of approaching this, like, this thing that was really painful for me to approach and to actually find some growth, right? We find growth through these challenging or difficult periods in our life. And I just thought that maybe I felt like I didn't have reason for living because I just couldn't live for others outside of me anymore. So yeah, I'm gonna take the chance to live my reasons. I love that because we all there is a reason. Like there's not a reason, like there's no reason, but there's a reason. You know, like we can make a reason for living. Like right now, a lot of my reason for living and for moving forward is to be a part of my family and to love the people in my family, and also to share ideas with people and to help people with their emotions in my work as a therapist. Like these are the parts of my life that give me meaning. And that's what makes things great. And yeah, it's all about the freedom. Um, it's not like I have to live my life for Jesus and do what Jesus says. Like I get to decide for me, like what is beautiful, what is good, what I love. And therefore, yeah, it brings so much more freedom to my life. But yeah, at the end of the day, we're just animals living. We're really smart, complex, emotion driven animals who are beautiful and wild and aggressive and violent and loving and cautious. Like we're so complicated. No wonder why we've made up a whole bunch of spiritual stuff to help us understand life. Also, there's a lot of talk about how people say that religion is really just these ways that we try to comfort ourselves. For example, when they would do hunts and stuff like that, hunting, it was do or die. If you didn't hunt, you didn't get the food you wanted. You and your family would starve or die or have a difficult time. So you prayed and you did these rituals and stuff to put you in this good space so that you would be able to go hunting and come back with something. And sometimes these things were effective. I wouldn't even be surprised if it was once again like a very complicated version of the placebo effect going on. um, but yeah, and I remember, if you remember when Brian was on a couple episodes ago, she talked about like how there was this society who like they moved into this new area and like the people just started dying, right? Because they believed that like if they lived on land that wasn't blessed, that they would be cursed, right? And their belief impacted them so strongly that it actually impacted their behavior and their biology. Like they literally got sick and started dying because of their beliefs. Is that not wild to anybody else that we have brains that are able to do that? Like that's not like I personally I think this is the magic. I think that this is where all the magic is. We're trying to make up all of this other imaginary stories and stuff for for whatever reason to Zeus and Poseidon and Jesus and all of this other stuff. I know Jesus is not really imaginary, but I'm just being extra. Um, but all of these other things, like we just want stuff to be interesting. We want it to make sense. We just come up with stuff. Um, yeah, it's crazy, dude. Our brains are wild. What are your thoughts on the left hand path? Like, I'm guessing you're meaning a little bit more ritualized, uh, like magicy type stuff. I'm just gonna uh, like I think the left-handed path is a little bit more like I guess the darker side of things even. Um and I'm more attracted to the left-handed path anyway, like maybe more occult type things, I guess. Yeah. And I'm not sure if it's more yeah, like I'm just looking up at the definition again to remind myself so I can kind of like see. Yeah, so the left hand is more like black magic or more malicious in intent or something like that. Um, but like I would consider like Satanism or something to be left-handed path, and then like Reiki would be a right-handed path type of path or something like that. I don't think that the article I don't think oh, self-deification. Okay, thank you for that clarification. Does the article mention tarot readings specifically? No, they mentioned astrology. I don't think they mentioned tarot specifically in this article. Self-deification. I think yes. I think maybe definitely. I chaos Oh yeah. I like I still like practice chaos magic. I'm still very much attracted to like the occult land. So I consider myself like a neophyte occultist in a lot of ways. And this comes with me in my like I said, I have my land where I allow myself to pretend and have like fantasy, right? And then I have the area of my life where I come back to consensus reality. So I keep them well separated, and the bridge, like I'm able to bridge them better now that I've like founded a grounded way to believe. Kind of like the idea of when you're a little kid, you don't really know the difference between pretend and real life. Like everything is all mixed up. You're like, I went to go see a dragon, and you're like, you in your mind, you're like, really saw a dragon. You know what I mean? But as you're an adult, like you went and you imagined a dragon in a meditation doesn't mean like you actually talked to a dragon. Like it was a meditation that you did. It was an inner hallucination. And as adults, we should be able to like tell the difference between what's imaginary and what's real. And so for self deification, like I guess making yourself into a deity is kind of yeah. I think it makes a lot of sense. Specific, Yeah, I feel like there probably are some ways that there might be some parts of it that might be more like like that I might be more skeptical to, and some aspects that I might not be skeptical to. I feel like we'd have to have a whole other conversation about that entirely. Um, but yeah, I feel more even more drawn to like the occultist path. Um, even if, yeah, like I said, even if it's just like for funsies, just because I enjoy this stuff. And I am like like I feel like a spiritual scientist. Like I'm practicing, I'm testing out these ideas in my brain and seeing how they work. To try like I'm trying to develop my own religion, my own religious practice in my mind in the way that I connect to the world. Not for really anyone else's use but mine. Because I think that this stuff should be very personalized anyway. And for example, like even with that, with like tarot, like you mentioned tarot, like I think that regardless of what you believe is happening in a tarot reading, your subconscious mind is making connections to whatever story is being presented, and it can be an opportunity for growth. So yeah, it could just kind of depends on how you choose to view it. Is it the divine sending you a message? Is it your spirit guides or your ancestors, telling you something that you needed to know, a divine warning? Or is it just a person who has a deck of cards and picked a random deck, and then you picked a random card and it just happened to be this card, and then you happen to have these interpretations, right? Both, both are. It's hard to prove this stuff, right? Both could be real. We don't really know. Um, Okay, yeah. So I wanted to be God, but I was too afraid of what my thoughts would manifest. Like I okay, like I said earlier with my demon stuff, like demons not being a real thing, and I was like, oh, my beliefs are kind of back like wishy-washy or something. What I mean is like I don't believe that like demons are real. They're like demons creeping and crawling around and whatever. But I believe that a person can create a thought form so powerful that it begins to torment them and follow them around and begin to present itself physically in your real life. And then you have a demon possession, essentially, is what's going on there. Yeah, that's kind of what. So I do think that shit is very, very real. Um, yeah. So yeah, and I think also a lot of it comes from things like being primed for it. Like if you grow up in a very religious upbringing, like you very much believe in angels and demons, and that your thoughts have been demons and stuff like that, you are more likely to have a demon possession. Um, Past lives. I think that my interpretation of past lives is very, very similar to possibilities. I was on a podcast and I talked with a podcast guest about this. We talked about how she got a past life reading and all these different parts, all these different past lives and stuff. The person wrote them all out for her, and she is a little bit more of it on the skeptical side, like I am, and went back to it and was kind of like these past lives can all actually represent aspects of me that are alive right now. Like these parts are parts that are alive within me currently. And that's kind of, essentially is the same. Like these are parts of us. Maybe they are past parts of us that we have lived before that are still living in us today. So I think that is one interpretation, that past lives can definitely be um, like in an interpretation of inner aspects of ourselves that maybe we feel really far disconnected from, that our brain has kind of like turned into a whole entire life that somehow is useful for our own development or interpretation. This is why we have 10 bazillion people calling themselves Aphrodite and like the reincarnation of Jesus and shit. Like, okay, 10 people can't be Pharaoh or Cleopatra or whoever, you know what I'm saying? And then also like why oftentimes people are like a royal warrior in the past or something like that, and like not like a hobo down the street, which would be more likely. Like it'd be more likely that most people were just like regular people, but we all always tend to be someone who's significant. The other thing about past lives that I have been thinking about more and I've heard more about in my more current research, perhaps like um it's more epigenetics. Like these are family stories, family past lives that like live within us, very quite literally. You know, we share the same DNA. You know, we are the sperm and the egg of our fathers and mothers, of our parents or whatever, birth parents. Therefore, we have like their literally their DNA made up our body. So there are parts of them that are in us and that will be in us for our whole lives. And so that could also be where those things come from. So long story short, I don't believe that past lives, like actual past lives, are a thing that souls reincarnate and come back and things like that. Um, could it happen? Sure. I just don't know, and I don't know, so I'm not going to live my life like I know that they're real. I'm going to live my life that they're not because I don't know. So the long story short, that's my answer. um, oh yeah, there are lots of different types of practice. So there's some where you deify yourself, and then some black magic practices, and some theistic Satan. Yeah, where they actually yeah, yeah. There's some Satanism that does kind of enter the creepy life. And here, also same. Why do past lives even matter? Like in the spirituality, focusing on the past lives contradicts the idea of being present. Um, another problem I see as a therapist is people saying, I don't know why this is happening to me. This bad thing is happening to me. It's probably happening because of my karma from a past life. I can't think of anything in my life right now that would warrant such a bad thing happening. So it must be my past life karma that I'm still living off. This is why I don't buy karma either. Karma is a part of this idea. I mean, it also just doesn't make sense. Like when you think about it logically, it really doesn't make sense. We see good people suffer and terrible people die happily, wonderful deaths. So, and and then we were like, oh, in seven lifetimes, then they'll pay off their debt. I'm like, okay, sure, but like that, how does that impact my behavior right now? Like, yeah, that's pretty much the other thing. And then also, like you said, you're not living in the present; you're living in the past. Lots of other things here. This was just the beginning, my friends. Okay, today was just the beginning. This was the first in an entire series on New Age spirituality as a whole. We are going to continue to dive deep. I might take a couple of breaks to talk about other topics if other things come up. Um, it's still dead though. I mean, like the people, like yeah, we're at the end of the day, we're just gonna die, and I don't know, but yeah. Anyway, so we're gonna be doing lots of this stuff. I already have. Let me see if I can run through some of the topics that I already have. Like, what's that called? Uh, like the quantum mysticism in general is going to be a topic. Energy healing is going to be another one. Oh, the divine feminine and divine masculine is going to be a topic I'll cover. Channeling, your thoughts create reality, and the law of attraction. These are ones that I have so far. So if there are other ideas, other new age concepts that you want me to study and do research on, and try to find articles and really try to get down to like where did these things, when did these things start, when did they start getting popularized, why are they, why could they be questioned, what are all the different possibilities for why these things happen. We have oh, healing frequencies. Yeah, well, that one probably will end up coming with energy healing. I'll probably add that to I'll add that to next to I hope to have it done next week. I don't know if I will. There's so much to cover. I'm just gonna write healing frequencies. That's a really good one. And but yeah, so real quick before I skirt, there are there is value in these concepts. I think as a for me as a therapist, there are some ideas from more common like spiritual practices that really work very well in clinical settings. And then also um, frequencies and sounds and things like that can have a very just very scientifically proven benefit on our lives. Like we can test this stuff. We can test frequencies and sounds. These are real things that we can test. Um, and I believe they do have benefits. For example, things like bilateral stimulation, hearing a frequency in one ear and then the other, is that's one of the foundations of EMDR. I'm in EMDR therapy right now, and we're doing a lot of work with the sounds and the eye movement and stuff like that. These practices, I think a lot of these things come from like some more woo-wee stuff. Some of these things can be proven and taken, and then we know. And then, like I said, first they start out as pseudoscience. We're not sure about them. We test them, and then they become medicine, right? Then they become proven theories that we can actually build off of and help people with. Some of the stuff we can't do that with, and that's unfortunate. And yeah, okay, that's all I have time for today. I stayed way longer than I thought. I was like, I'm just gonna do this real quick article. It's just gonna be an hour. I'm gonna be in and out. But yeah, we had a lot of questions. I had so much fun. I love talking about this stuff. I could talk about it for hours. I could talk about it more, but I probably need to go have dinner or not dinner. I need to go to shopping or something. Yeah. Okay. Now I'm just talking. All right, y'all. My title and opinion don't suggest I have a good opinion, though. Well, then people have got to watch the video. People have got to look at the content. I do very much think very, very low of New Age spirituality. So I have a very bad opinion of it as a whole. So I hope that is reflected. I do think that there are useful nuggets, but they are very small, teeny tiny nuggets. You have to scrape and look for them really hard. So yeah, like I've said several times before, if people are not attracted to the content that I make, great, then they won't watch it. And it's not for them. I want to make this stuff for the people that it's for. And you know who you are. You deconstructors, we're in this together. We're figuring this out together. But yeah, Instagram, I didn't talk at Mav Magic. You can find me on Instagram, all the other places. If you want to buy me a coffee, you can buy me a coffee at buymeacoffee/mathmagic. But that's where my what's that called? All my handles. So reach out to me. I love talking about this stuff. So if you talk to me on Instagram, you will have a nice deconstruction partner if you're interested. So yeah, all right, friends. Thank you for being here and sharing all these thoughts and all these things with me. And that's it. Peace and love, my friends. I'll see you next time.